get underway. Our first map will be Ruins of Ceres, and I believe it's going to be PiLiPiLi versus Marsman once everybody's ready.
Will be PiLiPiLi versus Marsman, as you just said. Sorry to repeat the exact same information. However, I've not seen Marsman play any PvPs. PiLiPiLi, maybe it's a PvT. He's trying to turn right there. Race check. But PiLiPiLi just straight up loves his Twilight Council. And did I mention this to you? No, I wasn't at BlizzCon when I told you this. But I remember one time I'm talking to PiLiPiLi. I ask him, how do I defeat Protoss? And he says, 420 Twilight Council Blink. And I said, okay, like, what's your go-to build? 420 Twilight Council Blink in every matchup. I'm like, okay, cool. You're PiLiPiLi, that's how you do it. Now, he may have been making a pot reference, but I think he was serious.
Blink is really strong versus Protoss. I lose to it a lot. I am more of an air player lately, but the Blink timings are brutal, in my opinion, no matter what kind of tech you open. A good Blink player will do a lot of damage.
Micro is key, but when you have the micro, don't need to worry about the macro sometimes. Here we are on Ruins of Ceres. Koshkii, who do we have in the top right-hand corner? The green trunks?
In the top right, our green Protoss here is Storm's PiLiPiLi.
And his opponent in the top left-hand corner from MCon, or I believe it's MCon. Mouse control, thank you, Hawkeye. It is the one, the only red Protoss player, Marsman.
So PvP. PvP is a much different matchup than PvZ. A lot of the meta lately has been Blink Stalker, but you also see you can also see Mass Air. If Mass Air kind of goes unpunished, it can be absolutely deadly. Carriers can start arriving and they'll mass up to a critical mass, and then, even with Blink Stalkers, it can be hard to handle.
Generally, we do see Blink Stalker, as you mentioned, into Blink Stalker Disruptor, which is hard to control, but quite powerful. Right off the bat, we see very large deviations in builds. Marsman going gasless in the beginning, getting a quick natural and a gate, while PiLiPiLi is going to go 2 gas right off the bat, is sending out a probe to scout, and he's going to scout the correct position the first time. PiLiPiLi is also adding on a second gate. This is a 2-gate play, and I've seen adepts in PvZ and in PvT, but in PvP, I think it's going to be Stalkers, Koshkii.
It could be Stalkers. Oftentimes people will use the Adept just to scout, maybe 1 Adept. 2 Adepts can sometimes be used for a little bit of harass and scouting at the same time. But Adept Stalker, pretty normal, or even just Stalkers by themselves, that can be seen too. Adepts, though, they can do a little bit of damage and at the same time gain some info, especially with the Shade.
It will be double Adept for some possible harassment and a scout. Shade is phenomenal, and however many Adepts, just times 2, and that's how many scouting units you have. I'd love to see in situations, more so in PvT, if someone's proxying and you open up Adept, which maybe you can't proxy with Adepts now, with like proxy racks, whatever, but I'd love to see Adepts shading off in multiple directions, because you can shade one direction and your Adept runs the other direction and cover twice as much ground, but it's going to be a proxy robo, and PiLiPiLi is going to go for a Warp Prism drop in the main of Marsman.
So, DrennoC, you know how I feel about robo all-ins. I think that this could actually do quite a bit of damage. Robo all-ins always, not always, but they're powerful. And the fact that we get to see one makes me pretty excited here. So it's going to be a proxy robo build, probably off of 4 or 5 gates. The Adept's initially going to go into harass. Double Stalker here by Marsman. He will probably defend the Adepts, no problem. There are pylons here, but there is no pylon in the back of the mineral line for Marsman. That pylon, a pylon there, would be good for an overcharge. But the 2 Stalkers, they've kind of got things handled there. 2 more Stalkers being chronoed out. I'm wondering if Marsman has an idea, maybe something's not right.
I like what Marsman's doing, even though he has to compensate and make a lot of Stalkers to defend. It's the idea that, let's say Marsman was on one base and just playing safely. Well, then PiLiPiLi could safely do a soft contain and hold Marsman down. While with Marsman at the natural, he's got something he's going for. He's got a plan, he's got a long-term plan, and if he can hold it, he's going to be good. But he's got a pylon he's making on his ramp, so these adepts don't get in. A little bit worried because it's going to be immortal, actually, now for PiLiPiLi. Both of my predictions have been 100%, 150% incorrect. And looks like we're just going to see a massive all-in from PiLiPiLi. By the way, worker-wise, we're just about even, 25 out of 23. With those earlier 5 workers, 7 in total killed by PiLiPiLi's even it up, and now the Stalkers are going to hightail it out of here. And they don't even have Blink to fall back onto. They don't have anything to fall back onto. And as I mentioned, Pylon's going to be blocking any probes from getting to the natural. If you look to the left on the ramp.
Yeah, those probes are having a little bit of a difficult time. However, Pili has now moved into the net of Marsman.
GG, PiLiPiLi takes game 1. Yes, game 1.
Yep, game 1. And I think there Marsman just kind of realized, you know, the units aren't here, so.
Even with lacking the units for Marsman, PiLiPiLi didn't get a Warp Prism. Now, Marsman, I think, just maybe a little bit better SimCity, and SimCities are just so important now. Of course, if a pylon is touching a Nexus, it can warp in quickly, so maybe what he wanted to do is throw 2 pylons close to his natural. Then he could photon overcharge them, push PiLiPiLi out, and make PiLiPiLi wait for a Warp Prism, which would then give him time for his own robotic facility to make Immortals. So I think a lot of games just come down to how good is your SimCity or how good is your pylons. Yeah, Marsman Death Pylon. It wasn't the largest deal not letting probes get there, but the warp-in, or not the warp-in, the photon overcharge, there was a lack.
The pylon placement in the early game of PvP is really important. It's very important because of adepts, oracles, all-ins. I think scouting that all-in would have been really key too. If there was a probe just kind of watching around at the nat, kind of seeing, is there a base? Because if not, something shady's going on. You know, something to see that all-in is coming.
It's a terrible feeling.
Yeah, when you see that you're getting all-in, you don't know what kind of all-in yet, but you know it's coming, you're just like, oh boy.
You always have that situation where you just, oh no. It's almost the oh crap situation. What are they doing? Stalkers make stalkers. Stalkers are good. Robotics facility if they're DT shrining me. Stalkers in my main if they're oracling me, but now I need stalkers in my natural if they're mass stalkering me. What do I do? It's